Billionaire CEO mocked single dad in front of everyone. Fix this engine and I'll marry you deal. The heavy rain had turned the construction site into a pool of mud. Workers ran for shelter. But one man stayed behind, kneeling beside a broken delivery truck. His clothes were soaked, his hands covered in grease, and his face showed the fatigue of someone who hadn't slept properly in days. That man was a single father, known by everyone at the site as the one who never complained, no matter how tough the day got. He worked double shifts to pay for his little daughter's medicine. A few meters away, a sleek black car pulled up, its tires splashing muddy water onto the workers. From it stepped out a young billionaire CEO, tall, confident, dressed in a tailored gray suit that probably cost more than the truck itself. Everyone fell silent. The CEO was there to inspect the new construction equipment, but his gaze landed on the old delivery truck blocking the way. "What's wrong with that junk?" he asked, his voice cold and dismissive. The manager hesitated. "Sir, the truck's engine broke down this morning. We're waiting for the mechanic." Before he could finish, the single dad stood up. "Sir, I can fix it." The CEO turned, his expression mocking. "You, with those hands, you look like you can barely afford a wrench." The workers shifted uncomfortably, but the single dad didn't say a word. He just looked at the CEO and repeated quietly, "Let me try." The CEO smirked, amused by the audacity. "All right then, tell you what, if you can fix this engine right here, right now, I'll marry you," he said sarcastically, drawing laughter from the crowd. But the single dad didn't laugh, he simply nodded. "Deal." Everyone stared in disbelief. The CEO chuckled, shaking his head, but gestured toward the truck anyway. "Go ahead, hero." The man rolled up his sleeves and went to work. The rain kept pouring. His fingers moved with confidence, his eyes scanning every bolt, every wire. It wasn't about pride. It was about proving something deeper, that dignity couldn't be mocked. Minutes turned into an hour. The CEO watched, half interested at first, then slowly, curiously. The man's focus was unshakable, despite the rain, despite the cold, despite the laughter. Then, suddenly, the engine roared to life. The crowd gasped, the CEO's smirk faded. He blinked, stunned. The single dad stepped back, wiping his hands. "It's fixed," he said quietly. No one spoke for a long moment. The only sound was the hum of the truck, steady and strong. The CEO stared at him. This man who had nothing but had just done what no one else could. Something in his chest tightened, an unfamiliar weight pressing against his pride. He turned to the workers. "Get everyone back to work," he said sharply, trying to sound unfazed. But as he walked back toward his car, he stopped halfway. He turned again. The single dad was packing his tools, ready to leave. "Hey," the CEO called out, his tone softer now. "Where did you learn to do that?" The man looked up. "My father taught me. Before he passed." The CEO nodded slowly, glancing at the small photo peeking from the man's pocket. A little girl's smile, worn but full of hope. For a moment, the billionaire didn't see a worker. He saw a man fighting every day for someone he loved. He reached into his coat and pulled out his business card. "Come by my office tomorrow. I think I have something better for you than this mud." The man hesitated, unsure if it was another joke. But the CEO's eyes were different now. No mockery, no arrogance. Just something real. The rain began to ease as the single dad took the card. The CEO turned to leave but paused one last time. "And about that deal," he said, half smiling. "Maybe I was joking then, but I'm not sure anymore." The single dad froze, confused. The crowd, still whispering, had no idea what to make of it. The black car drove away, leaving behind the sound of the still running engine, and a man whose life had just quietly, unknowingly, begun to change forever. The next morning, the single dad stood outside a tall glass building, the CEO's headquarters. He looked out of place among the luxury cars and polished shoes, holding his old toolbox and wearing the same faded jacket. The receptionist looked up, surprised. "Do you have an appointment?" He nodded shyly and handed her the CEO's card. Within minutes, he was escorted upstairs. When the elevator doors opened, the CEO was already waiting. Not in a suit this time, but in a plain white shirt, sleeves rolled up. His expression carried no arrogance, only curiosity and a trace of humility. "I didn't think you'd actually come," the CEO said, half smiling. "I said I would," the man replied simply. The CEO gestured for him to sit. "I looked into your background last night. You worked as a mechanic before the construction job. You took night shifts for years to pay your daughter's hospital bills. You never missed a day of work. That's rare." The single dad nodded, eyes fixed on his rough hands. "You do what you have to do for the people you love." Something in those words pierced through the billionaire's heart. A feeling he hadn't known for years. He had built his empire chasing numbers, not people. But now, sitting in front of him, was a man with nothing yet somehow everything. The CEO stood and extended his hand. "I want you to run our maintenance division. You'll have a full team, a steady income, and health insurance for your daughter. If you can fix engines like that, I trust you can fix this company's heartbeat too." The single dad froze. "Sir, I don't know what to say." "Just say yes," the CEO replied with a genuine smile. Tears welled in the man's eyes. "Thank you. You have no idea what this means to us." The CEO looked away for a moment, his voice low. "Actually I do." He walked to the window, gazing at the city skyline. "My father was a mechanic too. I left him behind when I got rich. I thought success meant never looking back. But yesterday, when I saw you in that rain, it reminded me of everything I lost chasing power." He turned back, eyes glistening. "You gave me something I didn't even know I needed. Perspective." The single dad stood, overwhelmed. "Sometimes life just needs a little fixing," he said softly. The CEO laughed quietly. "You're right, and you just fixed more than an engine." From that day on, the two men worked side by side, one driven by humility, the other learning it anew. The CEO started visiting workers personally, helping those in need, creating scholarships for struggling parents, and quietly funding the single dad's daughter's treatment. Months later, at the company's annual celebration, the CEO invited him on stage. Before hundreds of employees, he announced, "This man taught me what real strength looks like. It's not in money or titles, it's in love, sacrifice, and the will to never give up." The hall erupted in applause. The single dad looked out at the cheering crowd, tears shining in his eyes. And as the billionaire placed a hand on his shoulder, the two men exchanged a look of unspoken gratitude. One for being reminded of humanity, the other for being seen, finally, for who he truly was. The engine of life, once broken by pride and struggle, had started running again, this time powered by kindness.